Uh-oh.
Can
Hold
you
on.
hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. I hate technology so much. I'm so bad at it. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I'm very grateful for it. I'm terrible at navigating it. So.
It has its good parts and bad parts. Sorry, I was like, picture fell. I have to fix it. It's probably gonna fall while we're talking.
Well, I thought you were doing like something like being an artist about it, like I'm gonna be putting this up when
wasn't, but you used sticky tack instead of staples, or I guess or not staples, push pins. I was being lazy.
No, that's fair. I'm lazy about hanging stuff all the time because I hate hanging stuff. I want it on my walls. I don't want to be the one to hang it.
It looks great behind you.
Oh, thanks. I'm like, this is the only wall I feel like I could do a music podcast at in my house. The rest of my house is like very much my husband's decor, outdoorsman stuff. So I'm like, this wall has to be there, but my couch is hideous, so I won't sit over there. But how have you been?
The window. So it's near the window, and there's like that backlighting. This is where I do all of my work meetings because I feel like
it's well lit. It looks very nice.
Yeah, you can see your face, and got show posters behind us, all that.
Isn't that weird that you have to think about that now?
Yeah.
What is my background gonna be? You know what I mean?
I once sat on the couch, but it's in front of a window, and everybody, kind of like I might as well have called into the meeting. Like can't see your face, then it really doesn't matter.
Oh gosh. Well, how have you been? How are things?
Good. Things are good. We're very much in prepping to move mode.
Transitions, all everywhere transitions this year. It's crazy.
But if, because we're not leaving till February, I'm really, trying to stay in the moment and stay in the now. And I'm still kind of, very partially working for the Mish, but I'm a little bit involved in that world, and
that all went. I guess this is not the place to ask about that. I gotta remember that, but everything's smooth there still.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, it was like something that was like gonna happen anyway, and COVID just set it up.
Yeah.
So
I feel like that happened kind of a lot, like in a lot of areas.
For a lot of people, like like it was just this, and the circumstances, they're not ideal, and so, I feel like it's both like a blessing that we're all in this together, but also just like it's not like a good place for anyone to be in.
Right. It's really heavy. There's a lot of good change happening, but it's definitely a lot of weight,
Exactly.
Speaking of weight, that's what this whole thing is about. Just women in the music scene and how it just seems so different for us than it is for men a lot of the time. Not all the time. Most of the time it's welcoming and exciting just as equally, but sometimes like we have our traumas and things that we have to like deal with in such a scene, versus I guess other aspects of life.
Well, and I've been thinking a lot about that. How is it different from the rest of life? Because, I'm starting to is it different from the rest of life? Do I, like my interactions at the grocery store, I feel like are different than my male partner's interactions at the grocery store. Like, and like the grocery store has a hierarchy. Like if you go the day before Thanksgiving, a little old lady with a shopping cart will mow you down.
Yeah.
And like,
yeah, don't get in the way.
And like, and maybe like, is it wrong to say that like many men would feel lost in that moment or lost in that situation, and I'm not saying
and this is not yeah,
it's not like I think about my interactions in music and how I feel like the biggest issue I've had isn't just in music, it's just in life in general.
Yeah.
And it's like that is not being taken seriously right off the bat, or being put into like a box. Like, you're in a band. Are you in an all-girl band?
Yeah. What is it? You play poppy stuff?
Yeah, well, or the female role in a band is often like if it's a band, like they're often the silent bass player.
Mm-hmm.
I've been thinking like, and then there's always like the female drummer that like breaks all the rules, right?
Sure.
Or like they're often like a keyboard player or a violin player, and then you're like, well, is it because, like what are the reasons that led to that moment? Like do do girls like, why did I choose to play the flute in band?
Right.
I chose it because it was pretty, and I liked things that were pretty. I definitely regretted it once I got in the room with the trumpets.
Yeah.
Should have been a drummer.
I love that. I should have gotten any of it, like I'm thankful for people like you who learn any instruments, because I'm sitting here like all I can do is just like watch you do your thing and enjoy it, because I am not musically inclined. I mean, I was in choir for a long time and always like participated in like vocal stuff, but I think that's also part of it too, is that if you're a female vocalist, then it's got to be like this kind of band, like that's the box you're put into, and that's what I loved about Stella Luce, is that it was like so different. So like you weren't expecting it, you know what I mean? The first time I went to see you guys, like just because I worked with you guys, and I was just like, oh my gosh, that's amazing.
I was actually thinking about that sort of just today. We were practicing, and in Stella Luce, it was like everything was at 100% all the time. Like we just like, it was fun to belt things out, and in the new project things are dreamier and breathier and like more subdued, so that when those moments do get big, they're more dynamic. But like a lot of people have expressed their, I don't like girl singers, or I always listen to male singers because I just like the way that sounds. And I wonder sometimes why the person I'm thinking of, I'm like, did he say that because he doesn't actually like the way, like the sound?
Right.
Or is he threatened by a strong female presence and he prefers them to be more dainty and delicate and breathier and have less opinions?
Yeah.
And that, it could be very well that one person's issue situation. But, like, I feel like a lot of times we don't ask ourselves that question. And, I'm a woman, so I do tend to like pretty things, and I do tend to like other female singers. Like, I like, if you go to my channel on my Amazon Music, it's mostly female singers. So is it weird for a man to like male singers? No, that seems kind of natural, actually.
Well, why can women love male singers but men have such a hard time loving female singers?
And I don't know that all.
And it's not.
This was this one guy, but like like as far as trends and that, it definitely does seem to be a trend.
Right.
And I brought up to my sister, who's also been in lots of bands, that we were gonna be talking about this, and she always when she first started playing in bands in Fort Collins, it was, I don't know, the late 90s, early 2000s. And they were like, are you in the band? You're not with the band? And she would have to like get off of stage and have this conversation with the bartender every single night at each, like, and like eventually
every show,
everybody. But she like always will come back to that moment where like it was a struggle for her to be like, no, like literally on the stage.
Yeah. I was
not a dancer.
I'm performing. Hello. Yeah, that's so hard. Like, especially when how convoluted the like music industry is when you're working in it. Like, I remember working at the venue and not knowing who was playing at all. You know what I mean? So if someone were to go up, it wouldn't matter, guy or girl, I would have no idea that they were in the band.
And then on the other hand, you have to look at the bartender's point of view. Like,
like,
for every one girl in the band, there are 5 guys, and they all have girlfriends.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Not even girlfriends. It's like girls trying to be girlfriends. You know what I mean? Like,
or girls just trying to get free drinks.
Yeah. It's a weird world. And that's what I did want to like specify, is not like a man hating podcast, you know what I mean? Like I always worry that because it's women in music and we're talking about like struggles, but also the moments we felt really powerful, you know, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with men, but just because our culture is geared towards men, you know, it just is. Like men work more in the industry, men they play a heavier part, it feels like. And
Absolutely.
then we kind of go unnoticed, or people assume we're just like the groupie or the girlfriend or the, you know, whatever.
Absolutely.
And so it's kind of crazy to me that like things like that, like little like female voice versus male voice, and you don't really think about it, but what
And sometimes I wonder, is it a personality type?
I
Is
think
it a certain
probably.
personality type, and do women tend to not have that personality type that makes them want to
Well, and
set
lyrical
themselves to this?
substance is probably very different coming from females rather than coming from males. Like the substance is probably different and the point of view. So maybe that has something to do with it too. Like you're a woman singing about woman stuff, which isn't usually necessarily the case. Like everyone can relate to like heartbreak or love or whatever. I feel like it's not necessarily, but some people are very tied to that and can't step out of that box of she's singing about he all the time, so like it doesn't resonate with me, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I think,
So
and that again, you know, it's artist specific, but it's really easy. I do it too. So in Stella Luce, we were very much trying to like live outside of the box. Like
mm-hmm,
whatever the box there was, even if we stepped into it, we made sure to step out of it at some point in the song
mm-hmm,
and make sure that every song was a different box, even if it had to be a box, at least it
sure,
was two boxes, or every
yeah,
song was a different
yeah.
box, or, you know, but then I do it too when I'm listening to music and thinking of bands and thinking of artists in general. Like I want to put them in a box, and they, you know, I'll talk about like two actors who have the same name or have a similar face. And
Mm-hmm,
I'm like, oh yeah, they're just interchangeable to me. They're both Johns from the 80s,
right,
whatever, you know,
right.
whatever it may be. And so then I'm like, well, and so like with our most recent project, Vivian, I feel like we kind of tried to embrace
The
the
box.
box a little bit. Yeah.
I like that though. I mean, sometimes it is good to just know where you stand and have like, I've found lately that like goal setting or like intention is really important in anything you do. And I guess that's like kind of why I started this, because I finally like realized what I wanted my like actual intention to be. You know, like I've always been immersed in the music scene, but like not really a part of the industry, like really, you know,
Sure.
like kind of on the outskirts, but not really in there. And so it was like, I don't even know what direction I would go. And then I think honestly, it was like that recent, like all the Bass Nectar stuff. And I was finally just like, when are we going to just talk to each other about being in this scene and like how we can support each other? Not that I'm in the Bass Nectar scene, right? But like, just seeing how influential that person is and how ugly it can get and how
And
people
talking
are
about things
encouraged to be
openly.
silent. Yeah, because
Yeah.
people are always like coerced to be silent when they're victimized. You know what I mean? Like,
I read a little bit of, I don't know a ton about it, but I read a little bit of that whole thing. And it was a letter from a woman that he had worked with. And in the letter, she addressed like, that made me feel uncomfortable, but I feel like we couldn't talk about it because I needed you. And that was at some point like the price you pay. And
mm-hmm,
I do think like in like, I hate using me too as like, you know, a verb now, but
yeah,
I think about like people who have been called out over the, you know, last year or so, and my personal experiences with them, like people in our Fort Collins community,
yeah,
where I was just like, yeah, that happened to me, but it didn't really bother me that much, and I just let it go. But like you walk around all the time, like, yeah, it happened to me, it didn't bother me that much, just let it go.
right.
And I feel like there's like a fine line between being like an honest sexual being where like men are like this and women are like this, but women just tend to be can be more tactful
Sure.
or have been trained to be more tactful because
Yeah.
you have to be a lady,
Mm-hmm.
where a man have often be trained, you know, like think of like walking past a construction site. like, you know, situation, and like that is encouraged instead.
Yeah.
And how like maybe as a culture we should just work on being more tactful in general.
Yeah.
You know, because
Yeah.
you know, I feel like each one of those situations is so different and so nuanced that you can't.
Like, I hate the like cancel culture of it, honestly.
Right. I don't like
because
mom mentality is not good.
No, doesn't give the person who made a mistake. For one, most of these stories are person versus person, no evidence.
Sure.
You know, and while you believe women's stories to an extent, there's always, just like in any other situation, the one that's just trying to get, and that's why everyone deserves their moment to say how they, which his response to all that was not, it was like, I'm sorry you feel hurt kind of thing. It wasn't
right,
like a genuine apology or anything, you know what I mean?
Sure.
It's hard. It's really hard because once you cancel someone, then you don't give them a chance to learn, and then they're what, bitter? You know what I mean? Because they got canceled and they never had a chance for redemption, or they never had a chance to grow. Maybe they didn't. You like, you know, sometimes people truly don't know what they're doing is wrong. You know, I'm not saying, you know, there are definitely situations where it's like, you
and
know,
I feel like
wrong. Like Bill Cosby, he knew, you know?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. You know, and I feel like that's what I'm saying. Like each one of these situations is so specific to its situation that like it's hard. You can't like make blanket statements about, you know, like to some degree, if I didn't want people to look at my boobs, I wouldn't wear booby shirts.
Exactly. But
there's a line. There's just, the line is different for every person, and you don't know where the line is because it's invisible, and it's situational.
And that's why communication.
So let's just make this more complicated.
Yeah.
Couldn't get any more complicated.
No, seriously. It's so hard. It's so hard because you want, that's my problem too, is like, I want women to feel free topless. I want women to feel free, you know, like I want them to feel comfortable, like whatever they're wearing. Like, I don't think we should be ashamed by our bodies, but because this is the culture that we live in, then like, you have girls that, like, for instance, go to Base Nectar shows wearing like a bra and panties with like fishnets over it, and it's like, well, and your plan was to go do a bunch of ecstasy in your underwear, and what, you know,
and nobody was gonna touch you,
right?
But at this, you know, so but then there's and so again, the line for that person,
like, yeah, I feel free in this, but I still don't want to be touched, you know, like I get that. It's just,
yeah, I get it too.
It's so
but it also, like, you tell that to my, you know, almost 80-year-old father.
Exactly.
He wouldn't understand that whatsoever. He'd be like, what?
Yeah. This is why they have a problem when you're walking out the door with like short shorts, you know, but that goes back to the, oh, well, it's what she was wearing, and it's never what she was wearing. You don't get to be assaulted.
Again, I feel like the line is when she said, don't touch me, and you say, okay, sorry. And then like everyone moves on.
Yeah. Exactly. It's so weird. That happened to me at a show once because the guy just like kept rubbing his butt on me, and I was like, what are you doing? And he would not go away. I'm like, dude, no thanks, you know, like, it's like,
that's what the line was.
I said, no, I don't want your ass on my body at all. Thank you for that though, goodbye. You know, and it's you know, that's all it should be, and sadly it's not sometimes, and that's what, but then it's like the he said she said, and it's very complicated. I think everyone needs to just slow down a little bit and like really think. You know,
I do think some of all these coming out during COVID is because it is allowed for time to reflect, like time with our families, just time to like to think about things and think about what you miss and think about the life you want, like you really, really want.
Yeah.
And you know, it's tragic and as messed up as it all is, like I'm at least grateful for that. And I see it happening with other friends and family, and you know, like people are really like focusing on their dreams, and that's a beautiful thing.
It really is. I feel like, yes, it sucks and it's terrible, and I want everyone to get well. I don't want people to be sick, you know, but as a culture, or as a society, I guess would be a better word, where everyone seems to be growing in some way. You know what I mean? It seems like it's a time of like real transition. Like we even started with that. You guys are moving to New Orleans, right?
No.
How you say it? New Orleans?
New Orleans, yeah.
It's got New Orleans.
I'm not Southern, so I'm not gonna make it one word. It's 2 words.
So you're doing this as Vivian too? Like you're going to carry on?
We are, and we're gonna, once shows are a thing. What's that?
How do you classify Vivian? Like,
we're calling it dream pop.
I like that. That's very
cool. So very electronic, but playing live instruments and trying to it's all about vibe.
Singing. I dig it. Love it. But I always love seeing you guys together. I know I might get some hate from people in Fort Collins. I don't know, but I know that I love you guys together, and I've been waiting like years for you guys. So seriously, I'm like
really one of those things that it wasn't a thing, and then once we realized it could be, it seemed very natural, and doors have opened, both, like just everything feels possible.
Yeah,
that's a beautiful thing.
That is really beautiful. And you guys are going to New Orleans.
And the choice to move to New Orleans was actually not band focused. It's family are moving there, and so therefore we're moving there. And so we're gonna make the most of it and travel as much as possible. So our plan is to travel 2021 and play music even if venues still aren't open. And we will be finding friends in backyards and neighborhoods.
My backyard is always open for you.
Awesome. So that's kind of the plan, is to just, and if it's a brewery or a restaurant, we can play brewery restaurant music and play for food. And then, if it's a house party, we can make it an event and make it a memory that people and really, make some friends and something lasting, that maybe if 2022 venues open again, those people will venture out of their homes. And so kind of hoping for the best and planning for the worst, but the worst is
get to hang.
Great, so I'm fine.
It's pretty solid. New Orleans is so cool. I've never been there. I already told Tim I'm coming to see you guys.
Please do.
I have to. All things spooky I've been into lately. So I want to go so bad.
We've been binging all of the YouTube stories, so I feel like I've already been on a lot of the tours and heard the ghost stories. And then it's fun because we've been following these tour guides, and then they'll do another episode that they're well, that's they're well, this is how it really happened, but they don't want us to tell that part on the tour because everybody just wants ghost stories, which is fun.
Right. It really is fun. I like that.
I love that.
Fort Collins. Have you?
What's that?
Have you been on any of the tours in Fort Collins? Yeah.
I've been on two of them actually. Which I heard that one of them is closing permanently because of and I forget which name is which, but one of them you go and by 2 women, and one is a historian and one is a medium.
Oh, cool.
And so the historian will tell you the story of the area, and the medium will, if the ghost is around, talk to the ghost and give insights in that way.
That's nifty.
It was fun. It was fun too because they don't tell you which is which, and so I don't want to ruin it, but it wasn't who I thought it was. You should. They were great. I hope they're still doing it.
I'm sorry I cut you off though. You were saying they do the tours and stuff, but it's different.
Just history versus entertainment.
Right.
And I feel like New Orleans's entire culture is very based on the now and the present moment, and just enjoyment of life. And I'm really looking forward to just learning about that culture down there and having fun. It's gonna be great.
Cool. That's so cool. I'm
and we're not jazz musicians, though. We've been studying a bit just so we can jam with people when we go down there. But finding our scene in a city will be fun after being part of a small scene. And we're not, it's funny because we're leaving, but we're not. I have a feeling that we're going to be around almost as much as we were, in a way. Like a lot of friends I only see once or twice a year.
Exactly.
I'll still see them once or twice a year.
Yeah.
All together.
Right. Yeah.
When we gather again.
Yeah, seriously, whenever that may be. Jeez. I'm like, it's so weird. I've only been in the Mish one time this year. Like, so weird. I mean, I'm gonna go this week, but
nice.
Still, it's.
I saw P-Man Matt Mahern play on one of the Sunday afternoons.
That's fun. Did you go to the Ginger Whale show, or did you at the farm at all?
No, I missed that.
I wanted to go, but I was like, I don't know. I get nervous when I'm by myself, you know what I mean?
I have to talk myself into going places alone, but I feel like it's speaking of women, it's an empowering thing to do.
It really,
and you should do. And even eating out alone.
Yeah.
And doing, because in the beauty of our community is you will see someone that you know, or you will make a new friend. Exactly. And then you're more likely to make a new friend if you're by yourself. So
for sure. 1,000%. I love that. I just lost my train of thought. I got excited and then I lost it.
Again, with like the men and women thing, I think that is a trait. I feel like women are less likely to go places alone.
Definitely.
And there's a laundry list of reasons why. But I know that everyone feels that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would have gone, but I didn't want to go by myself.
Right.
Like, and I'll do like, I drive to a place and then sit in the car and be like, maybe I could still chicken out.
Me too.
You gotta psych yourself up and then you do it. And exactly. And I've never regretted it.
Right. No, you always have to send it, I learned that with Umphreys is my favorite band, and for a while I only went if I was going with people, but that was always like a boyfriend or something. But I love the band so much. And
sure.
When I broke up with said boyfriends or whatever, I took a hiatus because I was nervous to go alone. But once I started going alone, I'm like, I am so thankful my husband doesn't like going to concerts, because I love going to this stuff by myself and just talking to random people.
Well, and you can watch the show.
Yeah.
I feel like that about festivals.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like 3 people is the max you want to be, including yourself. 2 other people is the max you want to be with at a festival. Because you can't go from stage to stage or actually enjoy, because when you're with a big group of people, everybody wants to talk and you're like, I do like you and like to talk to you. I'm here to watch music.
Yeah, we need to go. And everyone's
enjoying what's happening. Sure.
Yeah, no, that's so true. Last year was the first time that I went with only 2 other people and to summer camp in Illinois, and it was so smooth. You know what I mean? I love my family that I usually go with, but it's a headache to coordinate that many people, and then well, what stage are you going to? We're going to this one, you know what I mean? And by the end, now it's you're late and you're running through 100-degree heat and crowds to get.
We have to agree on what to do to stay together, and inevitably the group does not stay together.
Oh, so it's why try?
Better just to have a buddy or buddies, and and that way, especially at a festival, it's better to have friends. So
you don't want to be alone necessarily at a festival, but
that's a little dangerous sometimes. But
it's you're so right. That's funny you say that. I didn't even think about it, but last year was definitely just because you don't have to worry, especially camping stuff. You don't have to worry about where are 20 people gonna camp. It's there's 3 of us, we can fit anywhere.
Absolutely.
Even that is so simple. Have you played, what is the Halloween one out here, that the real cool one? Yeah, have you guys done that one?
I did it with Fierce Bad Rabbit.
Nice.
And we had a blast. Women in Music, that show, we dressed in drag.
Nice.
All the guys in the band wore dresses and wigs, and our singer Chris Anderson, he looked just like this friend fan we had in Nebraska. I was like, wow, like it's amazing how similar. Anyway, and then I wore a suit and a hat to cover my hair, and the suit was too big. And then we put a little. I basically looked like Charlie Chaplin. Hilarious. I didn't mean to dress up like Charlie Chaplin. It's just
Just happened.
Once I put on the bowler hat and the mustache, I was Charlie Chaplin.
I love it. That's amazing. That's awesome. I want to go to that one real bad because it's just so local, you know. But
it's great. It's a great time.
Yeah.
I put a lot of like love and effort into it, and it's you know, it's actually neat to see how it's grown over the years and what it's become because it really is a staple.
Yeah.
Halloween, such a fun time to, you know.
It's a good time to camp. I love camping in the fall. It's like my favorite. I don't know, something about it. Because in Indiana, we would go. My grandma's birthday was at the end of October, so and they love camping, so we would go to this like state park every year, and the leaves are because it's Indiana, so the leaves change later than they do here, you know.
Sure.
The leaves are changing, and it's just like smells like fall, and everyone's doing the fall stuff. It was so much fun, you know. So it's like always gives me the warm and fuzzies when I get to camp in the fall.
Oh yeah, I can't wait for fall.
It's so nice. I know it has been kind of cool in the mornings lately. It's been glorious, really.
Noticed because we don't have air conditioning, so I'm very connected with how cold it gets at night or not.
Our air conditioning broke like I don't know 2 years ago, and we just haven't. It's like there's 2 weeks where it's really freaking hot, and the rest
don't really need it in Colorado.
Yeah. It's like, and now I'm waking up and it's like 50 degrees in the house. I'm like, ooh, you know, it's a little chilly, but then it gets to 90 still, you know, it's still nice out. But
I've been thinking about it a lot since we've like you know, thinking about the move a lot. I'm like, enjoy every time you're cold.
Seriously.
Enjoy it. Enjoy every cool day and every breeze. And
I forget how South Louisiana is, man. It's very far. It's like as south as you can go. I always forget. That's great.
They have 3 growing seasons. There are seasons, but not
extreme.
Not spring and fall.
Right.
So like not like that.
Well, it's like spring and fall are long. Summer is even longer, and then there's no winter really, right?
Not really. Although I think it has
like snow a little bit,
but maybe. Not like, you know, that's like a oddity. Yeah. And it's not like it sticks, it just falls from the sky sometimes.
Like,
exactly. I'm sure everybody's like, what is this?
Like we got 17 inches in November, no big deal. On one day. No big deal. That's so funny. It's gonna be different. Are you from where are you from?
I'm from southern Iowa originally.
So you're used
so
to
I'm familiar with humidity and bugs.
When did you move out to Colorado?
I moved here in 2001. So I've lived in Fort Collins area longer than I lived in the place I grew up.
Nice.
And so you know, and it's going to be about 20 years when we move in February. So, you know, I've been thinking a lot about like my time here and my time in music here, and just kind of like that journey. And change is scary, and I know that it'll be very good for me to, you know, go to a place that is about as opposite as I am, and, you know, at least in some ways. I feel like in other ways I'm like perfect for this.
Right on point. It's right on point.
I'm very much will go with the flow. Like it's not gonna, you know, like if you don't expect me to be there on time, I don't expect you to be there on time, and our expectations are exactly where they should be. Everybody's
exactly. Yeah, it's gonna be hard in Fort Collins without you guys, though. Like you guys are, I mean,
become staples. But I'm also, you know, as the scene, I've watched the scene change now several times and go through phases, and I feel like it's time for a phase, you know, another phase. Like it's gotten to the point where we've become like the elder musicians in town, and then like my elder musicians are like, you know, but even so,
right,
I met
like
someone I spoke to an ex last year, and she was like, oh yeah, you guys have been around forever. I'm like, not forever. Yeah, but Long enough.
Oh God.
Long enough to be, let's count the women. So I've been in, Tim and I counted up 35 collective bands. And I think of those, I was actually in less bands than him because the ones I was just in, the ones I was in were longer.
Yeah.
But counting like women, I was in bands with
my face.
Two? Not including me. 2 women.
2 you said not including you?
No, so 3 of us. I'm trying to make sure that that's correct. No. 3.
So 3 plus you, so 4 total.
Yep.
In that 20 almost years and 35 bands.
Yep. Well, and then I guess if we're counting Tim's in the 35 bands, I think he was in a band with 2 women, so yeah.
So still a handful, less than 10.
Yeah.
That's
less than,
outrageous.
Yeah. Because a band is typically 4 people.
Sure.
Average 3 to 5 people,
Sure.
And like in those bands I were in, there were 3 to 5 people bands.
Yeah.
So
a handful.
And women we worked with in the industry, I think we had one manager who was a woman, one sound person who was a woman, a couple of lighting crew people who are women, and I'm seeing it in the industry more and more now.
Yeah.
The Holiday Twin, the crew, there are a lot of women on that crew. They made a post recently about it, and I was like, who are these people? I didn't recognize them.
It just, I'm about to. What were you gonna say?
I'm about to meet them though. We haven't. I don't know when this is going to air, but we are announcing that we're playing the Holiday Twin on September 1st. So I'm excited.
Fantastic. Well, so maybe we might have to air you before.
Yeah, I'll actually I think it's announcing on Thursday, so I'll send emails and tell real people for real.
Yeah, well, send me that info because I can just make sure that you're on the August Jamcast so that we can advertise for that.
Sweet.
That's exciting. I might need to get in there because I just realized the other day that they've been booking concerts almost every weekend. I'm like, are they even doing movies on the weekends anymore?
There's 2 screens. So one screen is the movie and one screen is the concert. And it's through the system, so you can, if you felt so inclined, could change your radio station, just turn around and watch the movie if you wanted to.
Stop it. I went to a show there. I went to see the Beans there and in Cycles, and I did not realize that the other stage was still.
You were just so in the moment. You were there.
I was there. I was having fun, first show since February.
God. Neat. It's weird how you can kind of hear the activity on the stage a little bit, depending on how loud your radio is or how far back you are.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about it as we practice because I sing very loudly, and you're gonna be able to hear me and then hear me. It's gonna be funny. But
that'll be fun. Wait, so you're playing as VIVIAN?
Mm-hmm. It's gonna be our first in-person VIVIAN show, so that's exciting.
Is it a few bands?
Usually it's 2. I have no idea who we're playing with yet. Probably shouldn't even be talking about it, but I'm so excited. I'm excited to, get a chance to have we've been practicing for the knowledge that we will play a show. But actually having a real one to practice for is
so exciting.
Great. And and I'm seeing it now. People are starting to do backyard shows and or street parties socially. If you have one neighbor who has a porch or at least the willingness to run an extension cord out to their front yard, and people who are willing to come out onto their front lawns.
Are you doing the curbside concerts?
No, but I would like to, and we'll talk. So just stuff, stuff like that. I think it's it's great to see communities finding ways to do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I think also my neighborhood is going to be one that we can use for yard or curbside because I am actually friends with my neighbors and I got college kids
Nice.
behind me. So
Nice.
they won't care, you know.
I've started, part of our like plan for 2021, like is talking to people about that, and I've started to like hear like in some cases people are like more interested in doing that than actually going out.
Yeah.
Like they're and some I've been seeing a lot of Facebook people being like, actually I don't mind, like being social all the time was actually stressing me out, and this is
Yeah.
better.
Right. I
I
know,
don't know.
very much like a homebody, you know, I like to be home most of the time and then go
Sure.
out maybe a couple times a month, you know what I mean? But I need that go out time. Like I need
Sure.
like, that social output, I think.
Well, when we were super isolated, I definitely missed it so much, and so even stuff like this, it's great to have like to talk, but when you talk in person, there's even like that added energy transfer,
Right.
and so playing in person, other, because we've done a couple streams, but it's really not the same, and it
Well,
doesn't sound great.
how could it though if like I feel like every music experience I've had depended upon the energy of the crowd and that like bouncing off the energy of the people on stage. So like if you don't
Absolutely.
have that coming back to you, then how is it ever going to be as good? You know?
Well, and I, praying for a vaccine, because there's nothing better than like the sweaty in concert dancing your mind away, like energy transfer moment that happens when you're all up close together and
Right. It's
everyone's
so
all
cathartic. It's
it's
just like
there's nothing like it.
mm-mm.
So, you know can't wait for that again someday. I don't know, or maybe we'll like the whole world will change and we'll be people who will remember what it felt like.
Right. Which hopefully we can
I
do more
hope not.
remember.
I hope not. I
I
do like, though, not that I don't want to make money with my music. I just feel like I'm going to do it because I love to do it regardless. So taking the money aspect away, like as far as backyards go, and you know, I always felt like turning art into industry is flawed at its core.
yeah, it's icky
So
already.
it is, and so that goes back to like the personality type. The personality type goes for the certain thing, and I think about the 20 years in Fort Collins being in bands and playing music. Like I made decisions that kept me here,
Yeah.
and I traveled enough where I was always grateful to come back to here, because there are so many. I've done other interviews about women in music, and there's a lot of like, I want to hear the dirt, like give me the dirt, and I'm like, other than like not getting as much respect as the guy standing next to me, really isn't any dirt.
Yeah.
And honestly, over time, that respect came as much was due anyway. It's not like, you know, need unearned respect or anything, but
Right.
it's the situation, the scene in Fort Collins and Colorado in general is really encouraging. There are a lot of women. Every like of the bands support each other and hold each other up.
Yeah.
I saw a band from LA move here, and I think their parents, like they were young, and so their parents moved here, and they were, like, there's like this old school, like, let's talk shit about each other culture, and so they started doing that, and I saw bands in Fort Collins, like everybody just ganged up on them, and not like in a you
No,
suck kind of way, in
yeah.
a like,
This is
why would you ever speak to anyone that way?
yeah.
Shame, like,
Yeah.
and not like we'll not go to see your shows anymore, but also
Grow
act
up.
fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, grow up. And so
Totally.
it's like it's lucky to have a scene like that here, and I feel,
Mhm.
you know, and I think people here know that it's lucky, because so many people come from other places.
Right. Yeah.
And
It is a very like I don't want to say diverse. I feel like diverse isn't the right
it's
word for the
it's small, so everyone does know each other, and it's
yeah. It's so cool because I love that I can go out in a city of 150,000 and still probably run into someone I know. You know what I mean? At the very least, because I work at elementary schools, I run into a kid I know, and their parent is like, "Why is that lady talking to you?" Usually, I'm like, "Hi," but still, people everywhere. It's kind of crazy though. It does get stressful, and it is nice to even now. My mom is like obsessed with wearing makeup. When I was in labor, she was like had to go back and put her makeup on before she went to the hospital, right? Not this time, but my first. And so I always try to tell her hey, if you wear your mask, you don't even have to really do your makeup. Just put some mascara on and you're good, And she's like, I guess that is nice. I'm like, it's crazy that you can't leave the house without doing these things, but if the mask helps that, let's do that.
The mask does help that.
Yeah.
Well, and then, again, goes to expectations. You mentioned the ginger whale farm. There's this photo that Fierce Bad Rabbit took years ago where we were scientists, and in the photo, I was making just a horrific face. There was an explosion, but the face was far from flattering. And
purposefully, right?
Right, yeah. But I remember Jason Downey commenting on it in a encouraging way. He was like, it's so refreshing that you don't feel the need to be overly beautiful or sexy all the time, and and I honestly hadn't even thought of it. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah,
because it was all about the photo,
right?
But then in retrospect, I'm like, you're right. Some people, I definitely judged before we did this call. Oh.
This is
isn't.
This is I don't think I should be wearing my hair in a mess. Normally it's flapping all over the place. I got baby spit up on my shirt. You know what I mean? I should probably put some mascara on. And to that extent, yes. And I totally understand my mom about certain times wanting to look nice. Because
you're putting effort out into the world.
Yeah. It's kind of like how people hate on the bands that wear pajama pants on stage or shorts on stage. It's you cannot wear shorts on stage as a performer. Well, but why?
So again, right. So and it's a two-way street of effort versus judgment.
Right.
And then again with the gray area, how far do you have to go, and how far should you go? And so I can't remember the name of the band, but it is a perfect example of kind of the same situation where I commented, I was like, I don't really like his vocals. I didn't like his vocals because they sounded lazy and conversational, he wasn't really trying to sing very well.
Right.
And the guy I said it to first was offended, and then really thought about it, and he was like, that's why I like it. Yeah. He's like, I like it because it sounds like it could be literally anyone singing. Yeah. And it makes me feel like I could sing. And the rest of the band is very technical and sure. Interesting and all over the place. And I was like, so the vocals very much stood out as, and then I was like, so, and that's its whole entire style, right. Is the vibe we're putting out there is we spent all of our time working on this lick. Yeah. And the vocals are really just us. So maybe the Pajama Pant Band is Come As You Are Party. Yeah. And in other projects like Stella Luce, for instance, Evening Gown was often part of was supposed to create part of the vibe of the thing. Was the ambiance of it all. And in Vivian, I've started wearing a wig because it's in a
is
way.
Is it a spacey wig? Is it
it's right pink? Now it's short and pink.
I knew it.
But the idea is that it is dream pop. So the idea is that it's supposed to be surreal and kind of put you in a space where you're like, did I imagine that? I don't know. And that where you're awake but dreaming scenario. Yeah. You're dreaming, and so weird. Yeah. But I feel like life is like that a lot of times. Just turn on the TV and you're like, am I dreaming? Is this really happening?
Yeah, exactly. How do we know any of us is really real? We don't.
And we don't. And you watch, like, there's so many, everyone's living in their own reality, and to some extent there's no escaping that.
Oh no.
You are in your own reality no matter what. So it's really up to you to make your reality whatever it is, so
Okay.
we talk about women in music is a very, like, discussed topic. To be in music, all you have to do is be in music.
Totally.
So now, like, there's so many different levels of that.
Right.
So to be in mainstream music, you have to do other things.
Yeah.
And to be a woman in mainstream music, again, with, like, there are, I don't know that I could cross those obstacles.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like, that's in our industry, and
well, I think a lot of the time.
What's that?
Well, I was gonna say, I think a lot of the time with the mainstream stuff, it's not even people performing their own songs, right? Like,
Sure.
that have been given to them, so it's not really.
It's a product. It's a
right.
It's a box. It's a thing. Like, I'm selling this vibe. I'm selling this, and sometimes, like, Lady Gaga comes to mind. Like, it's, I'm selling you empowerment.
Sure. Like Madonna.
Yeah.
Madonna was very much that, even Janet Jackson, Whitney Houston, like, all those ladies in the 90s, freaking Gwen Stefani and Jewel, like, they're all just, like, women, and they were mainstream too, but mainstream, I feel, has changed since the 90s to where it's not as authentic, I guess, like, per the performer. I feel like Lady Gaga does her own stuff, but then you've got, like, Kesha.
But it's part of it, right? I'm not super familiar, but when I've been researching, and, like, but I think even in, like, we go back to Gwen Stefani and Jewel and things, like, they were manufactured to a certain extent. So, you do what you do, and then someone comes along and they're like,
you'll make money if you do.
We can sell that.
Yeah. You just have to tweak it a little bit, or what, like. And that's hard to say no to when you know that you can get that big, that fast,
I don't know that anyone would say no to it.
Right.
You see people really get on artists for they selling out. Like, well, of course, like, it's kind of a plan.
Right.
Like,
don't you want to be successful?
You're not just making pots. I mean, okay, you make pots because you like to make pots.
Sure.
You like getting better at your craft. But if someone came along and said, I'm going to give you $5 or $100 or $1 million for that pot, you go, okay.
Yeah.
You can make another pot.
Yeah. I'm going to take your pot and I'm going to put my pot in it. You don't say no. You say, yeah, give me your pot.
Like, that's why I made the pot.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's just, I think it depends on how tied you are to your art and how tied you are to money, right? Like, it's a balance, and you let it sway whichever way you want. Like, you can probably make more but I don't think those sellout opportunities really do come as often as people.
No, but I mean, I feel like historically I probably would have made different music had money been the ultimate goal.
That's fair.
And it might have taken the last 20 years to it's taken me all this time to realize that. Like, I feel like people, like, I'm just waiting for this to happen, or I'm waiting for this to do this, or, like, this is what I've always wanted to do, but it maybe isn't what you've always wanted to do because you didn't do the things necessary to get there.
Right.
If you have to go to the place where things happen in order to be in that place at that time. So trying to figure that out, I feel like for all of us, and I hear a lot of people, like, ask, like, how do you be in the music industry, but nobody really knows what that is. So
right. Even when you're in it, it's different for everyone, so it's not like,
even working in it, really, it took time working for the Mishawaka, even learning all the ins and outs of the difference between a tour manager, a manager, a publicist, and a marketer, like, just like the slight difference,
yeah.
It's nuanced and like,
Totally.
and it's different, you know, because some people are all of those things,
Mm-hmm.
and in other cases they're separated and they're very specific. I only do this one specific thing, and you really talk to me about this one specific thing. Um, yeah, and I think it's an industry that likes to take advantage of people's passion to have them work for free. But the problem is there really isn't a lot of money in it. So if you're a person putting up the money to make the thing happen, of course you need to recoup your investment. And yeah, and hopefully through COVID, the industry will change for the better.
Yeah.
I worry that only corporate America will survive, and that includes music.
That very much seems to be the trend across the board. And
which is why I'm, you know, curbside concerts, backyard concerts, personal interactions, like, seem to be all that there really is. So
yeah, I'm like, is it time for all these bands to stop using Ticketmaster or what? You know, like they were destroying.
If someone says, I'm going to give you $1 million, do you say no?
Exactly.
Pay the show.
But now they're not even relevant. So it's like now maybe is the time to like change shit. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. It's just so bizarre because like you said, it does kind of take advantage of people's passions sometimes, and it's America, I feel like, is the land of the middleman. You know what I mean? Like they're always just like paying a middleman instead of paying people directly. So while I do hate to see venues like Hody's leave, if it means that I ask you to come play at my house and you have a room to stay in Fort Collins and
you're more likely to do so because there aren't places, you know, other places to play. I feel like that sort of thing will happen more often. And, you know, it's sad seeing like local venues go away. The Zodiac in Colorado Springs comes to mind. Mm-hmm. But those people still live there.
Sure.
And the communities will pop up again.
Somehow. They do.
Hopefully.
You know? Yeah, that's what we've been talking about. We want to just like buy land and do kind of the drive-in thing, but like with space for camping and with space for like our own houses or whatever, so that like we can just be there all the time and host stuff like this. Because if this is going to be the future, you know, awesome. As we know it, then at least we'll have a place, you know.
And even if it, you know, even if it isn't, look at something like Halloween, like it grew from like a Halloween party to a Halloween festival. Like you can legitimately call it a festival. Like it's not just a party. It's much bigger than that. Once you're renting porta potties, it is no longer just a party. It's at least wedding status.
Exactly. I was gonna say I had to rent porta potties for my wedding, and I was like, oh my goodness, we are doing the thing. You know what I mean?
There's logistics, nuances, and so and it's hard because bands, I think, see the music industry from their perspective, where they're like, I made art, now pay me. Yeah. Where, you know, a venue is like, I pay rent, now I need to pay rent. Yeah, pay me. Like, so, and that's like, at the very, I hope you mentioned the middleman. I hope this all,
eliminates that. Like,
eliminate some of it, or at least
people to like be successful in the industry and like house these bands and everything. But I just feel like, and maybe that's kind of what Danny is doing with like the Save Our Stages and everything. Maybe that's their goal, is to like have it community funded. I don't know if that's their goal. I don't know.
Well, they're lobbying the government to at least consider to include them in the stimulus packages. Right. They are small businesses, and every, you know, whether it be a restaurant or a music venue, you know, they're like seemingly forgotten.
Totally.
You know, and people like this are life savings.
It seems blatant though, doesn't it? Sometimes that the corporations are doing so well and stayed. You know what I mean? Like sometimes
they're losing money too. They just had more money, so they're takes more to you know fail.
It's where just like,
you put in your life savings, like that's all you got. There's no more.
Yeah, that's so true. It's so sad. I mean, hopefully we do realize that it's important to us to have music and that our community should be funding stuff, you know, like certainly there's a way to reallocate money so that some of it goes towards the arts instead of.
I hope so. I feel like in times of crisis, people really do turn to art, and it's a part of how we make sense of our world, and it's a part of how we understand the reality around us, even if it is just our reality.
Right.
And that it's important for our mental health.
So important. It really is. And maybe not for everyone, but for a lot of us, it really is like a mental health issue. The same way that like the dispensary stayed open, or the liquor stores stayed open. Like, I don't frequent the liquor store. I frequent, the music store because I need music in my life. You know what I mean? It's just it's different world for sure. And it'll get better. And we're all learning and growing together, I think, and really picking out what's important,
I hope so. I think so too. I mean, I do think very, very firmly that we are all more alike than we are different.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's really easy to feel, and men and women combined in that.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to feel othered because life is just hard.
Mm-hmm.
But acknowledging that we are alike, and it's true in politics, it's true in relationships, like like every conflict usually is coming, like a lot of times they happen because you both feel so strongly almost the exact same way.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever had an argument where you're like, we're literally like saying the exact same thing, we're just mad, so this argument is continued?
Yeah, absolutely. My husband and I all the time, I'm like, so we agree. Cool.
Fine.
All right then.
Never been so mad about agreeing with someone.
Exactly.
And I just think we're kind of going through that, and I've had this argument with my friends a lot. But again, I'm from the Midwest, where that it is we are the other, or they are the other, that everyone's always talking about. And I've always been the odd duck in that pool. And so going back, again, like people face to face, like, really are more alike than they are different.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
Think of people in big, like it's like the mob mentality with the base nectar thing, or any it's easy to lump everybody together. Like, I want to see more women in music, but I want to see them just doing what they want to do, not necessarily getting preyed upon. But then it's also up to the woman to like set realistic expectations of like how they want to get there. Totally. I do see people make questionable choices in the name of their ultimate goal.
Mm-hmm. And that happens in Hollywood, and that happens
right. And you can't, and then you can't be like, you did put yourself there, in the system that created that situation isn't good in the first place, so how do we talk about it in order to change it? And I think the only way to change it is to talk about it.
Yeah, instead of looking at each other.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's so hard, especially in like having grown up in the Midwest and having connections there, because I do too. I'm from Indiana, and it is very different there, and it's almost a very different like mentality overall. I mean, I see that, but only because of who I'm connected to in Colorado. Probably Colorado is more similar to the Midwest states than I'm seeing, just because of who I associate with. Versus,
it is more similar to the Midwest states than, say, California.
Right. But even then, it's like so interesting to see the dynamics and see like the echo chamber, especially of like when you're around, then you don't think to get out. I don't know. I don't know how I got there.
And I see it, so feeling in the middle.
Yeah.
I see them do it, and I see here do it, and I'm like, it's not.
We're all together here.
You can say it 100 times, it doesn't necessarily make it true.
Yeah.
It's hard to know what is true.
Mm-hmm.
Even as an individual, like, again, like I'm living in my reality. Is what I say true?
Right.
I don't even know if this is really happening right now.
Yeah. It's a dream. It's definitely a dream.
I've had worse dreams.
This is been a wonderful one, really. I think I had a weird one last night. I woke up all wonky.
Me too, actually.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into that. I think it was just because I was really thirsty and like anxiety dreams happen over and over and over.
Your teeth fall out. Those are the worst. I hate that. I'm like, it was so real. I swear I thought I lost all my teeth.
There was a spider and he was very big and jumpy.
Ugh. Yeah. No, thanks. I'm good. Oh man. Well, I don't want to eat up your whole day. It's already been over an hour.
Oh my gosh. Well, that was fast. I don't know. If you're gonna edit? You could edit all the parts out where we just chit chat and we'll only talk about women in music.
No, I love it like this. He can use it, he can not use it. We'll figure something. It's gonna get used. I swear. But this always happens. It's like hard to interview people you know and care about because you just, especially if we haven't seen each other in person in so long. You know?
I know we needed that like initial part where we just
had a conversation at first and then start recording once we have caught up. No, it's great. So will you be playing venues? Do you have venues in mind that you'll be playing at in New Orleans, or?
We've been given some recommendations. Sarah Slayton's one, and then of course we have ties to the Blue Moon in Lafayette, Louisiana, which is about a 2-hour drive. So I definitely would like to visit that place. At this point, we're actually heading down next week just to take a trip, and we're picking up Tim's daughter and bringing her back here for the fall semester. And we're not gonna I feel like we're just gonna show up and just kind of see what the air is like.
Yeah.
And so it might be regular shows at venues. It might take us, I have no idea.
Yeah.
It might take us a while to build up enough cred to even get a show.
Sure.
But who knows? I'm just trying to keep everything open and and just it's such a weird time to be a musician, and let alone changing jobs. I read this thing in the Wall Street Journal about it's a terrible time to change jobs. When let alone changing an entire industry.
Right.
So here I am leaving one facet of the industry to really focus on full-time musicianship, which in some ways New Orleans is the perfect place to do that, because being a full-time musician really is a thing, but it again is different. You might be paid with supper, and which is wonderful.
Sure. It's just not.
I'm just trying to figure out how to navigate it, and so I'm glad to have a partner to do it with, and I feel like the community in Colorado is rooting for us, which is beautiful thing. So I know and we've been in bands for so long, we do have tour contacts throughout the country, hoping that they survive long enough to be emailed. But it's so funny, we were actually booking our tour the day we started sending emails was the day that we realized the country was shutting down and that there wouldn't be any shows this year. And it, because we were living under the lie that this could never happen to us.
Right.
I mean, us as Americans.
General, yeah.
Yeah, all of us.
Yeah.
That wouldn't happen.
Well, it's not even a consideration, I
didn't see, and my brother, about a week prior to that was this is coming, and I was no. And then suddenly I didn't have a job anymore.
Right. Ugh. Right. So weird. It's weird, but it'll be, I think it'll be good in the long run,
I think so too. And I think that again, to bring it back to the women in music thing, I really think that this moment of reflection is been great. Is that and that people should continue to talk about their experiences. And I ask myself, if you're not feeling respected, why are you not? Do you deserve the respect that you feel you need?
Yeah.
Why do you feel you need that? And just continuing on anyway has been kind of my MO. Just keep just keep doing what you do.
Right.
It doesn't really matter if, you got the cold shoulder from the bartender, or if you're not, even in my own bands in the past, like I didn't feel like my voice was counted as much. Well, I'm not in that band anymore.
Right.
And, just as like a woman navigating the world in general, in the world of business, in the world of music, I feel like it's all the same.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, totally.
The way you approach it, it's the exact same situation. So
yeah. I'm a firm believer that your own happiness comes from within. So if you're counting on other people to provide you with that, you're probably not going to find it, because they are living their own experience and they're trying to find their own happiness, not your happiness.
Absolutely.
Like, you have to go find your own happiness wherever it is.
And those people who have like issue with women or issue with me, or like, it's usually more about them than it is about you anyway. And at my level, at my lowly level in the industry, like, it's not really as much of an issue as it would be, I think, that if, like, once I get to another level, like in the Lady Gaga level, I do feel like it is very much an issue.
Yeah.
But at that point, you are a commodity, and our culture, basically, there's only a few representations of woman, and you have to live within that box.
Yeah.
And so slowly our culture is changing, though. And I feel like there should be all the representations of women, like the non-binary version of woman, the pajama pants version with throw up on their shirt because I'm busy. Because my appearance isn't the most important thing on my list of the daily activities, and being free to, like, just be is exciting, and I feel like we're getting there.
We're getting there. You're so right. Oh man,
well, a lot farther than my mom, that's for sure.
Yeah, no I don't need to put mascara on to leave my house, therefore things have
changed. Every day.
No, sometimes if I feel spunky. Oh, well, so good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you too. Thanks for including me.
Of course.
And let me know what you know about playing opportunities. I know we're excited. We do want to play as much as we can before we leave Colorado, just to keep our relationships alive. We've actually realized that part of the way we can do that is we're working on our second album right now, and we're going to start having guest musicians record on it as much as possible, so that when we're talking about releasing it right before we leave town in January, and it'll be kind of like everyone's bought into it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because they're all on it.
Everyone chipped in a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love collaborations. I live for collaborations of any kind. So. Yay. Okay, I will include your VIVIAN information and everything so people can tip you. And and then at least look up your stuff so that they know where to find you.
Awesome. Well, talk and email in.
Yes, it's good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you too.
Bye. Take care.